All right, welcome. 5D Attraction is the one and only guy Johnny, and I'm here. Wanted to let you know some powerful information, man. And this is a big one because the title is "Why Do Good People Get Destroyed in Relationships?" And I use the word destroyed for a reason. Because people get crushed in these relationships, and you know, I first want to just make one thing clear. Just because you're a nice person, you can still destroy somebody in a relationship. So it has nothing to do with you being nice. I've seen the sweetest girls in the world destroy, the sweetest little tiny girl destroy a super big alpha dude. And I've seen a super nice girl get destroyed by an asshole, a dude that is, you know, just anything. You know what I mean? And then I've seen two good people destroy one another. I've seen really nice, good people destroy somebody in a relationship because you got to understand a relationship, when it comes to attraction, attraction isn't a choice. Okay? When we talk about attraction, attraction is something that, you can't rationalize a lot of the time. So, what I mean by that is simply uh, just because you like someone's personality, just because somebody is really cool and really pleasant, just because somebody has great vibes, that doesn't mean you're attracted to them. But here's the flip side: just because someone's an a-hole, just because someone is mean, just because someone has a very dark nature, that doesn't mean you won't be attracted to them. And then you have the element that opposites attract. So a lot of the time, a nice, what appears to be a nice little petite girl will be with this guy that's the complete opposite, right? And in that dynamic, a lot of the time, you'll be attracted to what you don't have. Somebody will have the characteristics you don't have. So if you're shy, they'll be outgoing. If you're very talkative, they'll be quiet. That's one side of attraction. But then on another side of attraction is a lot of the insecurities that you have, they, you know, will display confidence in those areas. And then vice versa. So what you're looking when you see a relationship isn't necessarily two people that are both equally positive, equally nice, equally powerful. You're looking at more of like a jigsaw puzzle, or you're looking at like a balance scale. Both parties balance themselves out well. That's when a relationship generally works well, when your partner shines in the areas where you don't, and vice versa. So that's one element to it. Attraction isn't a choice. So what happens? All right, there's a lot of places I can go, but I'm gonna explain the dynamic that happens in relationships where a good person gets destroyed. Number one, and there's some rules to this thing, so listen closely. Number one, if you start dating somebody and you go in with a very positive energy, and you want to take them on a date, and you want to go above and beyond, right? This energy that you're giving off, it could be very genuine, but to the other person, it can appear as needy. And then what you'll notice is there is a cycle where one person's trying to get this girl, and the same girl they're trying to get is trying to get this other guy. And then that guy she's trying to get is trying to get this other girl. And it's this dynamic where everyone's trying to level up, and do the most for someone else. And then the person that's doing a lot to be with them, they don't want them. I have a lot of guys reach out to me, a lot of guys that are in the friend zone, want to get out of the friend zone. I know a lot of girls that have been put in the friend zone. You know what I mean? And that's one element of just the dating side when it comes to like the early stages of a relationship, where you can be manipulated just because you're a good person, right? And a lot of people have been there. Now let's go into a relationship. The thing about a relationship is there's a natural manipulation that both parties do to one another in order to have control. And in most relationships, one party has more control than the other, or one party leads the relationship. Generally, that partner is going to be the one who's the most willing to go away, or the most willing to leave the relationship. Um, so it creates a situation where, essentially, man, even though both parties are together, there's one person trying to really keep the relationship alive, trying to keep it going. And that's generally going to be the person that's going to be on the lower side of having to deal with the BS. Now, a lot of you guys find yourselves as the one who, let's say your partner messes up, y'all get in an argument. You're normally the one to be like, you know what, my bad. You know what I mean? I understand that I messed up. I'm sorry. And then the other person might be like, okay. If you find yourself willing to empathize and work with the other person more, I'm going to tell you right now, just because you did that, that is the nice thing to do for the relationship, but it's not the most attractive thing to do. All right? Because the more you begin to do that, the less attractive the person becomes to you. Because relationships have a lot of deep, low, dynamics that you got to understand. So, one big thing about relationships is if you continue to apologize and try to work with the other partner, they're going to subconsciously begin to have a lack of respect for you. Because they're going to look at it as, damn, you keep messing up. If you can't shine the light on the other person's mistakes and have them also apologize or see their flaws as well, what's going to happen is you're going to create a dynamic where you're always having to be the one to compromise. And whenever you're the one who compromises more than the other party, that means the other party has more control. You know what I mean? And if the other party does have more control, unless they're highly responsible with that power, especially for you guys that are with women and you always let her get her way when she complains, or you're the one always trying to defend yourself, or you're the one always trying to look at where you messed up, that's the wrong way to go. All right? To be honest, man, there are a lot of men, a lot of you guys, and women as well, but there are a lot of you that are very masochistic. And what I mean by that is a lot of people like to be with a partner that makes them go through the ringer. They're always arguing with them, always yelling at them, always, putting them straight, like always telling them off, putting them in their place. There's people who like a strong woman or like a strong man that's always checking them and putting them in their place. But with the guys especially, and with many women, it's very dangerous because you're going to get destroyed in that relationship because they're not going to have respect for you after a point. There's a natural element of respect that both parties must have for each other, where if I cross the line too much, that person's going to leave. A lot of you get destroyed in relationships because you're too afraid to leave the relationship. You know what I mean? And the other partner knows that. If you can't leave your partner, if they're being abusive, if they're being manipulative, if they're, trying to mentally abuse you or even physically abuse you, here's something I do. If I feel I'm getting disrespected on a certain level in a relationship, I will leave. I don't care how many years we've been together. I don't care how much time we put in. We can be 10 years married with 5 kids. Which it should, if I'm like, look, if you do that one more time, I'm telling you right now, if you ever do that again, I promise you, I am gone. And you have to get a relish a little bit in it, like, because they're going to try you. They're going to test you. Like, I've heard stories of all kinds of things. There's a lot of men that deal with a lot of emotional manipulation, a lot of women with emotional manipulation, a lot of women that deal with physical abuse, even little things like getting hit or poked or slapped or pinched. And it's like, you have to set that boundary where you're like, look, if you ever try to do that again, I'm gone. And when they do it again, because they very well might, if they don't respect you. If they respect you, they already know. They're gonna know. They need you. Your partner needs to know. Like, yo, if I do this, I know they gonna leave. Like I know some dudes like, yo, my girl don't play. Like she will leave. I know some girls that's like, yo, my dude, he don't play. He will be gone tomorrow with his stuff packed. It has to be like that. Because if you don't have any boundaries like that, the person's gonna continue to push your boundaries, and they're gonna know, whether consciously or subconsciously, that you can't really do nothing about it because you can't leave. So that's number one. Good people get destroyed in relationships because they don't know when to go. They're too afraid to leave. You have to understand that just the fear of you leaving will keep somebody from ever trying to test you. Versus if you don't leave and you try to stick in there and be like, look, I'm going to give you another chance, but don't do it again. Okay, they're going to do it again. Period. And the more that you let them come back and the more that you try to resolve it and go through therapy and go through different things, without, really setting boundaries, the person's going to continue to do more and more harsher things. And what they begin to subconsciously do is push you away. They're going to try to push you away to make you leave because they know you're not going to leave. So that's where you start dealing with insane levels of abuse. And you go to your friend's house and you're like, dang, like they did that and they did that. And you're like, why? How could you let somebody do that to you? On one level, you're mad at the person that's abusing your friend. But on the flip side, you got to realize, like, damn, why is my friend accepting this abuse? Like, why won't they just leave? So a lot of people are getting destroyed in relationships because they're allowing themselves to be destroyed in the relationship. All right? Nobody's going to defend you more than yourself. You gotta really understand that. Now, another deep element when it comes to why good people get destroyed in relationships is because, of course, they don't have any tools. The reality is, if you don't understand the dynamics of relationships, what's going to happen is you're going to be set up to fail. Relationships, it's in masculine and feminine energy, is a science. If you want to succeed in a relationship, you need to understand how the masculine and feminine energy work together. What are the characteristics of masculine energy? What are the characteristics of feminine energy? How do they work together in order to positively work together? Because you have to understand, these are two opposing forces. You know what I mean? These are opposing forces, and they can only work together if you scientifically put them together, if you structure them to work in cohesion. Okay, because if it becomes too much of a feminine energy environment, it's going to be too chaotic. It's going to be too passive as well. If it's too much of a masculine environment, it's going to be too forceful. It's going to be too controlling. The two parties have to balance the masculine and feminine energy within themselves. Then they can practice balancing it together. Now, most people get into relationships, have kids, have marriage, before they do all those things before they even understand how to properly balance masculine and feminine energy within themselves. So I think a lot of people are rushing. Would you learn how to fly a plane by just saying, "Oh, well, I'll learn from experience. Let me hop in the plane and start flying"? Like, no. You would want to learn, you'd want to study, you want to understand how the parts work, and then you want to do a little bit of training and testing. You want to observe that, trial and error. Then you want to, go on there with someone that has experience, who can lead the way, and then you'll learn. When it comes to relationships, you got kids who are 14 years old with kids, already setting themselves up for failure. They have no skills or knowledge about relationships. They grew up looking at failed relationships and marriages, and now they want to act it out with no guidance. That's the number one way to fail. It don't matter if you're a good person. It doesn't matter if you got a great heart. It doesn't matter if you're a loving person. You're going to get destroyed because there's a science to this thing. It's not this happily ever after. It's not love at first sight. That's not the case. You can have attraction at first sight, and that's what you got to understand. Attraction in a long-term relationship are two different things. They're two different things that can work together. So, but look, you can be attracted to somebody and hate them. You can love somebody and not be attracted to them. So I feel like a lot of the time, people are very attracted to somebody, and that becomes the number one metric as to why they're in a relationship with the person. But they might not be compatible long term. They might just be attracted to each other. Attraction is linked to sexuality. You know, it's related to physical attraction. It's related to, let me see, yeah, it's related to sexuality. But emotional communication, emotional compatibility is more so related to friendship. Okay, so the ideal situation is somebody that you're attracted to who you also have great emotional compatibility with and good communication. So you have to couple those two things. A lot of you are in relationships with people where you two have horrible communication with one another, but you all came together because you were highly attracted to each other. So that's big. If you're with somebody because you're attracted to them, but your communication is horrible, you're not gonna last and you're gonna get destroyed. Okay? A relationship has two parties. Two people have to play a role. You know this the old saying that you're only as strong as your weakest link. You can be a great, nice person with a wonderful job, ready to do everything. You're ready to be in the relationship. You've worked on yourself. You're ready. But that's only half of the battle when it comes to a relationship. If your partner isn't equally ready, equally emotionally mature, equally, responsible, and at the very least, if they're not equally willing to learn and really try to get there, I guarantee you're gonna get destroyed in your relationship. You know what I mean? So you got to really keep that in mind because you're only as strong as your weakest link. It'll be that partner that's more immature, that partner with worse communication, that's going to destroy you, especially if you have kids with them. They're going to destroy you. They're going to be immature. They're going to be acting out. They're not going to be able to listen, and it's going to be too imbalanced. So this is very important. You got to really make sure that you work on yourself first so that you can identify how much someone else has worked on themselves. And then at the very least, you have to have a partner that wants to grow, wants to get better. If you have a stubborn partner that's not a good listener, that doesn't want to grow or change, that's stuck in old patterns, you're going to get destroyed. Because you can't make somebody else change. You can't make somebody else decide to get with the agenda. And if you already have a karmic attachment with them through a relationship, they're going to begin to bring you down. So in relationships, so many people begin to get dragged down by their partner because of the simple fact that, because of the simple fact that their partner isn't responsible and mature enough. You know what I mean? So these are the many different dynamics that cause good people to get destroyed in relationships. All right. And I can continue to go, so this might be like a part one. But the last thing I'll just say, in terms of what's coming to mind when it comes to why good people get destroyed in relationships, is that you got to understand, if you're a really good person, that's not enough for a relationship. You have to evolve to a place where you can embrace both sides. Your light side, which is your good, nice side, and your shadow side or your dark side, which might be the side that has its boundaries, that doesn't rock for anything, that doesn't negotiate. The side that's ready to like stand up and be like, nah, that's not where it's at. You got to know how to handle both sides of yourself responsibly. Because there's going to be times where you're going to have to check your partner, or where you're not going to be, you can't be the nice guy all the time in a relationship. All right? Or a nice girl all the time in a relationship. You know what I mean? You got to know, that how to be just. And there's going to be times where, your partner might be out of pocket. And you got to be like, look, forget that. I'm letting you know right now, I'm not dealing with none of that. You got to be able to go there, and you got to be able to still be the nice, like, I definitely understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean? You got to be balanced with it. I noticed that there's certain people in relationships, they just don't have the skills to go to the other side. They don't have the skills to check their girl. Or they're girls that are so nice and sweet They don't have the skills to defend themselves against this narcissistic guy or this rude, domineering dude. You know what I mean? Or this guy that is confused and doesn't know what to do in the relationship. He's confused between you and someone else and all over the place. And if you allow that person to be all over the place, you're disrespecting yourself and you're giving them the room now to be swooped up by somebody that isn't going to let them do that. See, people are going to gravitate to those to the person who they're afraid to lose. So that goes back to what I said in another video about validation. People are going to go above and beyond to keep someone that validates them. So if you're, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, who validates them. So if you're always validating your partner, but your partner isn't always validating you, you know what I mean? Or better yet, if you're always validating your partner when they do good and when they do bad, you become that person that lets them do anything. And that's going to subcommunicate that obviously they have more value than you because you're letting them get away with everything. And that person's going to look around and they're going to lose value for you. And they're going to find someone else that's not going to let that happen. And they're going to think naturally like this person must have more value than this person that I'm with. Because the person I'm with lets me do anything. It's probably because I'm their only option. Whereas this person obviously must have options, you know what I mean, and some self-respect to not let me do that to them. So, man, I want to get approval by them. Why am I going to try to get approval by this person who's let me do anything? You know what I mean? It's like a child that can do whatever they want. You know, a lot of the time you really let someone down when you don't check them because you don't really give them the truth. And we got to, a lot of time people think they're so good because they're non-confrontational, but just because you're non-confrontational doesn't mean you're good. Because you might be living a lie. Your partner might look at you as like, why are you always lying to me? Why can't you just keep it 100? Why can't you just be true and tell me what you really think? Some people can't even really express themselves to tell their partner the truth. Like, look, this is how I feel. So, if you can't do that, if you can't honestly communicate, if you can't, properly express your emotions and be honest with your partner when they're doing things good and when they're doing things bad, then you're not ready to be in a relationship yet. You got to balance that out within yourself first because you're going to be doing your partner a disservice. The real goal of relationships is for both parties to grow. If you're being this super goody two-shoes dude that's going to bend backwards and deal with all of this abuse verbally and emotionally from your partner and not check them and make them feel as though they could lose you, you're not really helping them grow. You're making them complacent. You're making them stuck in their ways. You're validating bad behavior, which is ultimately making them, degrade as a person, like de-evolve. You get into a relationship to evolve. And evolution requires challenge. So two partners should be able to challenge one another. Once you're in a relationship and you feel as though you can't challenge your partner, or where you feel as though your partner doesn't challenge you to grow in little ways, then it's time for that relationship, time for you to let that relationship go. These challenges are subtle. They don't have to be arguments. Growth is just conversations, different perspectives. Like, you know what? I didn't see it that way. That helped evolve my ego. Like, I respect what you said because now I'm a better person because of that perspective you've given to me. If both parties can't do that for each other and it's just one-sided, that's not a good relationship, to be honest. I don't care how nice the people are. Both of them could be good people, but if they both are stuck in their ways, like, I don't get what you're talking about. I don't get what you're talking about. Or, I don't get what you're talking about. Like, yeah, it's all good. I get it's okay. I'll just go with what you say. You're not going to grow like that. You're not going to grow like that. So, these are just the many different facets that allow good people to get destroyed in relationships. And I think it's very important that you educate yourself on relationships, dating, the dynamics of relationships, how to deal with the tests that, there's something called shit tests that women throw at guys. You got to know how to deal with those. You know what I mean? And for the woman, you know what I mean? There's certain manipulation tactics that narcissistic men and abusive and lower vibrational men use to keep you trapped with them in a karmic cycle. You know what I mean? And if you don't understand the tools to break out of that relationship or to change that dynamic, you're going to be in a dark, dark web, you know, which is going to eventually begin to suck from your life's force and cause you to be a shell of yourself by the time you leave the relationship. You go through about 2 or 3 of these kind of relationships, especially if they're long term, and you're gonna waste away decades of valuable time that could have been spent building with somebody that was really gonna help you evolve to that next level, help you elevate, accelerate, you know, um, help you ascend. You know what I mean? You want to ascend because you found your twin flame, you found your soulmate, you found that person or those persons that came together to help you do something special in this lifetime. And so many people miss out on the gift of this lifetime of what they could have created, which would have allowed them to ascend or to evolve, to that from that dove to the phoenix. Instead, people go from a dove to a crow because there was somebody who kept them so sucked down and stuck they were never able to reach their potential. It's very sad. I mean, and people are going through it every day. And it's really sad when two really good people that were meant for each other end up missing out on being twin flames or missing out on getting it right because they just weren't mature enough or they didn't have the skills or they didn't have the balance to make it happen. So work on yourself first. Don't rush no relationship. Don't do nothing crazy to be in no relationship before you first have an understanding of relationships and how to properly make them last. And if you need help with that, watch my videos, watch 5D transformations, and also, talk to me for a coaching call. I can break everything down for you. If you go to 5dtransformations.com, and I can really break down a lot of these different things that will allow you to have a strong, powerful relationship. So aside from that, I thank y'all for listening. I'm gonna keep you guys gamed up, and you ladies, you know what I mean. I'm gonna keep the content coming like never before. Now I'm unloading everything. It's the time. It's the time. I've been called to finally do it now, like for real. So get on that Patreon, patreon.com/5D Transformations. Go on there, look at the new content. Starting in February, I'm gonna just drop a whole bunch of new stuff on there. But in the meantime, it's a lot of info on there. Hop on there. Make sure you check out 5dtransformations.com to book a coaching session if you want to. And aside from that, man, remember, let the God within you shine bright. Peace.